This is Chris with White Rhino Fab. Again, today we're going to talk about our new VF4SS that we just got in December. And I'm going to tell you some of the things that I really like about it. And surprisingly, I have very few things that I dislike about it. If any, actually. I did have one problem, but we'll go into that whenever we come back. Welcome back, guys. So today I'm gonna go through some of the things that I really like about this VF4. If you're looking at buying one of these, I'm gonna tell you up front, buy for the future. Try to get the upgrades and the options for work that you may have. And I say that because it's a little costly to do that after you've already put the machine in place. You can still do it. That's the great thing about it. So a few of the options that I really highly recommend is the probing. I like 100%. I would not get a machine without the probing. Not only the tool probing, but the part probing. That makes life so much easier. I really just can't put into words how much easier it has made me. Now, again, I've said this in my other videos, I am not a machinist. I'm learning this as I go. At first, this is a little intimidating, just because, you know, you're taking a chance on a piece of equipment. And like when I bought this, I actually had no work for this. I just knew that I wanted work for it. Surprisingly, the machine is just crazy easy to use. It is easy. I really don't have a better word for it. Again, I'm no machinist, but working through the VPS, the visual programming system, doing your tool offsets, doing your library, it takes a little getting used to if you're not familiar with it, like I wasn't. But hands down, you can go from having very little experience to being able to hold tolerances between a half thou and a thou. And again, if I'm not a machinist and I can hold those tolerances, somebody with more experience and that actually knows what they're doing should be able to hold better tolerances than that, like any day of the week. Another thing that I really recommend, and this kind of goes with what kind of work you want. If you're a job shop like I am, I wanted some of these options because I didn't want to limit myself. If you're a shop and all you do is make your parts, you may not need some of these options. And one is the through spindle coolant and a through spindle air with the air blast. I got a job only because I had through spindle air and the air blast, because those parts that I have for this customer cannot have any fluid or coolant on them. So that worked out in my favor. And I was lucky. I knew I kind of wanted some of those options, but right out the gate, it worked out for me. You definitely want as big a tool changer as you can get. I could have gotten bigger, but honestly, going from a manual mill, I was kind of like, well, I mean, I don't really need that many tools. But now I kind of wish I had gotten a bigger one. But that's just because I'm trying to be lazy, quite honestly. I don't technically need it. I'd love to have more tools, but I don't really need it. What else is there that I really like about this? I love the travel of VF4. It has a nice large table. I'm able to machine some of the larger parts for some of my customers around town. Oh, I will say this, your biggest challenge, in my opinion, is not going to be how to use the machine. I thought that was going to be my biggest challenge. That was not my biggest challenge at all. My biggest challenge was not screwing up while I programmed in my CAM software. That was my biggest challenge. I actually, when I started this is a Kennametal 1/2 inch 5 flute carbide end mill. As you can tell, I don't know if the camera picks this up, but I have destroyed this end. I was probably going through 3 a week on these, just because of my inexperience. I was learning. I was pushing the machine in areas I shouldn't have pushed the machine, and that was just my inexperience. But it did exactly what I told it to do, and then when it blew it up, I realized I shouldn't have told it to do that. So that to me is the biggest challenge on this type of machine. So if you're looking at one, just know that you'll be able to get the machine up and going and use it fairly quickly. Your challenge is going to be doing the CAM software. That's a huge learning curve. That's a far larger learning curve than the machine itself. However, if you have someone that does your CAM programs for you, then, I mean, you kind of have it made. Another thing with the CAM software that that will kind of bite you in the butt is, if you notice, I have a check my work offset. That's probably the most rookie mistake that you can make with this machine, is not checking your your Z height. That I have destroyed a few tools doing that. Luckily, it was one of those things where I caught it at just enough time to where I didn't really damage anything, but maybe the end of the end mill. So that that has been a big thing. One thing I did to kind of help keep me from doing it as often, well, actually 2 things. One is my little sticky note here, because you get to doing a complicated piece and someone comes and talks to you, lose your train of thought. That happened a couple times. The other thing is the CAM software I have, you can do like a code in a set, like a notepad or something, and then import that into the beginning of every program, so that and basically it's a macro, and all it does really is, have you set your work offset? Yes. Are you sure you set your work offset? Yes. And occasionally I'll go in there and change the order of it, so to where instead of replying yes, you have to reply something else, and just so I'm not copacetic of the answer. Okay, I know, enter, or cycle start twice, because I know that's what it's going to ask me. And that's just mainly for me, so if I'm distracted, I'll remember that. So yeah, that's some of the things that I really like about it. Again, the machine itself is fairly easy to run. Again, it's a little intimidating, but you will quickly learn that that is not what you have to worry about. It is the CAM software. So the other thing that that you don't necessarily think about is tool holders. Holy cow, do I have a lot of tool holders, and they are not cheap. I've got the Shunk tool holders, so I did try to buy good quality. If you decide to roll in your tooling budget into that, I will be the first to tell you, get double what you think you need. because you will eat that up. So sharing some numbers, I put in a $30,000 tool budget. Half of that was holders, and you know, I've got a lot of holders, so I didn't want to, if at all possible, I didn't want to have to pull a holder, add a tool, and then I got to reset up that tool. So I was trying to do it where I had enough holders that I had a certain few that if I had to rotate tools out of, I could do that. And so that's how I did it. But for the most part, I have kind of my base tools, if you will, that I keep in the machine, and they just stay in the machine because my 1/2 inch 5 flute end mill, I use that to rough out just about everything. So I keep that there. The same thing with my aluminum stuff. I have set aluminum tools that I'm going to use for just about everything, and then I can add specialty tools. So that's something to keep in mind. A couple things that I don't know if you can see this on the camera or not, is some of these tool holders that I have on here, and this tray. I absolutely love this tray. Just a little bit of backstory. I have a CNC laser and a press brake, and I was going to make something very similar to this. Kevin over at Savant Manufacturing contacted me and said he has these trays he was going to send me, and wanted to see kind of how I liked them. And I have to tell you that the quality on these things is phenomenal. And they have a website, but they are more for the industrial stuff, my understanding. But you can go to eBay. You can go to eBay and find this tray, these tool holders, and he's actually got quite a few other options. There's one thing that he sent me that is a vise alignment tool, and also for the lathe, for setting chuck depths. And he's got a lot of stuff on there that really made some of my setup time so much easier. And like this right here, I actually hold some of the drill bits that I use, but you can hold T-wrenches in these. My quick handle. Go check them out. Oh, that's the other thing. When you order that stuff from him, it comes with all of the hardware, instructions on how it's assembled. It's phenomenal. It is really good quality stuff. This is not a paid advertisement, nothing like this. He just sent me some of this, and I was like thoroughly impressed. And when I looked online for what this stuff cost, it's like crazy affordable. So he is really selling this stuff at a bargain, quite honestly. And just the level of quality on the powder coating, all stainless steel hardware, it's phenomenal. It's really good stuff. So I've been really pleased with it. It's really kind of made my life a lot easier, especially this tray right here. Holy cow, I can't tell you how many times I've been looking around for a place to just set something when I'm trying to do a setup, or I'm trying to read my setup sheet, or something along that line. So thank you, Kevin. That was a huge help. Okay, so in this next segment, I'm going to tell you, while there are very few, there are a couple things that I don't like about the machine. And that very well could be the possibility that I didn't select an option that maybe I should have. And that's just because I wasn't aware of how much of a problem this is. But actually, before I get into that, let me tell you first. So far, I've had only one issue with this machine. That's just from the factory. The way cover in the back kind of separated and it caught on the sheet metal and actually bent the sheet metal. My HFO came right in. Obviously they had to order it, but they came in, replaced it, no problems anymore. So that was, things happen, not a big deal. Quite honestly, if that is the only problem that I have out of the machine, I'll take that 1,000%. I mean, again, the ease of use on this machine and being able to use it is phenomenal. And I hadn't even talked about the ROI on it. It's phenomenal too. So I will say this, coming back to the couple things that I don't like about the machine, and again, this may be self-inflicted, is the chip management. Holy cow, this thing makes chips. Not just some chips or a lot of chips. It makes all the chips. Like every chip that you think you're going to make, it seems like that it makes like double that. So I am not a fan of the auger. Just actually, it's maybe not even the auger. It's just the fact that the chips build up in the back. And if I was running a production machine and I was running 8 hours a day, there would be probably 2 or 3 15 to 30 minute cycle times there where I'm gonna have to stop the machine, push all these chips, and get them out. We try to keep them fairly chip free, if that makes sense. I don't like to come in the next day and there's chips everywhere, and you know, I just, granted, there's always exceptions to the rule. If I do have to leave quickly and I can't clean out the machine, that's the first thing I'm gonna do in the morning. But there is options for like a conveyor system for the long side of both sides of the table. I don't know if that would really help that much. I haven't seen it in action. I don't have one. So that could kind of be a problem. I think when it really causes a problem is when you're dry machining or using air. There's nothing to wash those chips down. So again, that may be self-inflicted because I didn't opt for that extra conveyor, or the conveyor. I think you can get a conveyor instead of the auger. I don't remember now, but it's a minor inconvenience. Again, as far as everything else on the machine, if that's really, I guess really, that's really my only complaint on the machine, quite honestly. Now I think about it, I haven't had any other problems, and it does everything I tell it to do, even if I tell it to do it wrong. So that being said, that if that's my only complaint, I think I could live with that too. It's a little inconvenient, but you know, so what? So far, I would highly recommend this machine to just about anybody. I think people that don't like these machines, maybe they haven't run a new one, or maybe there's something that I don't know that they see. But so far, so good on mine and on my side, and it's worked out really well for us. So if you're looking at one, definitely talk to an HFO, ask questions. There are some, if you're a seasoned machinist, ask the questions that I don't know to ask, and that'll help you make your decision. But so far, super pleased with this machine. I really like this machine a lot. So, all right, guys, next video, I really want to kind of show y'all how we have incorporated lean into just basically every aspect of the shop. Some things are super simple. It just completely lowers your stress level if you know some of these processes are in place. Doesn't have to be crazy over the top process, but I really want to show you some of the simple things where people in your shop can quickly identify what state a certain situation is in, if that makes sense, and show y'all how we handle that, and then how we kind of overcame some of the problems we had before we enacted some of these procedures and processes.